Yeah, so there you go, the points going to Russia. But I'm of the impression that despite the fact that Russia probably just deserved their victory, some of the better football in the second half seemed to be played by Finland.
Yeah, well impressed by the finish. They probed, they tried, they created a couple of chances. Were the better side, and of course, when you take a chance, then you concede the odd counter-attack, which they did. But yeah, I was well impressed. Disappointed by Russia. They played a good first half. Couldn't scored on the stroke of half-time that first goal, and I thought it settles them down. They were poor in possession. They gave the ball away cheaply towards the end. You play for a reason. Why do you play? You play to win. Yeah, there's 5 minutes on the clock, injury time, and they keep giving the ball away. You know, 2 minutes to go. Just go down the line, get a throw in, get a corner, try to get a free kick, run the clock down. The French do it. They're not too good. They're not too proud not to do it. They did it last night. So if they can do it, they should do it. And you know, that's what sometimes is lacking or what I'm missing, to think about what to do at the right time to win games. And they just don't seem to have it. They play and they like to pass the ball. Mm-hmm. If we score, great. If we concede, so what? You know, maybe we get another chance. And I've got to say I was disappointed. And yes, they've got a good chance now with 3 points to go through to the next round. But yeah, I wouldn't be too phased if I were to play them in the next round.
No, that's the thing, Richie, isn't it? Based on the two performances we've seen from Russia so far, even if they do advance out of the group, you just can't imagine them going very far after that, can you?
Not at this point, not from what we've seen from them. And you could turn around and say, well, Belgium is a difficult opening fixture. Most teams would struggle against them. But a lot of the struggles that Russia had were created by themselves, the individual mistakes. And they repeated a lot of that today. It's a very different circumstances playing against the Finland team, as relatively limited as they are compared to what Belgium can produce. But there was a pattern today that you could see in both performances from Russia. So they do lack quality. I wouldn't be fancying them go too far in the tournament at all. We're at the stage now where we're looking at group tables and 3 points, so we're looking at goal difference, and we're thinking back to the previous tournament to
We're trying to work out a way for Finland to get through, aren't we?
Yeah, we pretty
love the underdog.
Yeah, so they're going into their final game now with obviously goal difference of 0. So goal difference is going to be key to separate the teams on 3 and 4 points who finish third. Keeping that score down, this is a very negative way of framing a game against Belgium, but for Finland to get a result against Belgium would be a hell of an achievement for that squad, particularly given everything they've been through. But keeping the score down is going to be difficult in the next one. Yeah,
well, they still have their 3 points and they're not out of it just yet. It really all depends on results in other groups. An awful lot to be decided, as we know, at this early stage in the competition. So Russia have defeated Finland by 1-0 in St. Petersburg. And Richie, only 1 goal in it. So for those joining us a little bit late, we're going to show them that. But first of all, I suppose it demonstrates what Russia can do when it all comes together. It just doesn't come together too often for them, does it?
It didn't come together too often in this game, but the finish, as we'll see in a moment, is one of really high quality. It's some decent, intricate play, good interplay in the build-up. They tried this several times and it didn't come off for them, but on this occasion, Moranchuk does just get enough space, has the vision and the technique to provide the finish. Plenty of Finnish defenders around him. Shocking to see there, just kind of very unorthodox position there to try and block the shot. Wonderful finish. But again, we didn't see too many of those moments of that kind of quality, and it puts a different slant on the team talk at half-time. It puts an entirely different complexion on the challenge they face in the second half. They had to merely keep a clean sheet against Finland to get their first 3 points.
Yeah, let's have a look at the chances, Didi. What did you make of what they created in the second half, the better aspects of their play?
Yeah, there were half chances. There's one, you know, they're shots from the edge of the box. You know, here he's under pressure. There's 3 Finnish players around him. It's not easy. That's probably the best chance up until then. Just goes wide. I'm not sure whether Radetzky would have covered that. It was by Simal Letidionov, who really was a bright spark. This is Kuzev here with a bended shot into the far corner, but in the end, a pretty comfortable save. I think it's a yard off the post. I think he's got to save that. Yeah. And that was right towards the end. Again, the substitute does well. Balloons it over the bar. So they had chances, 1 or 2 good ones towards the end. Didn't take him. They didn't get punished today, but against different opposition, could be a different story.
We know how prolific Timo Pukki has been for Norwich, and he had a couple of chances for Finland. Some of these he might stick away on another day, but they did pose a threat with Richie, didn't they?
He was prolific in qualifiers. He's been prolific this season for Norwich, and here you can see why he was leading the line the whole time. constantly looking to create an opening and be a threat. Does really well here in this occasion, but we're going to keep an eye on him here. He lays it off, but you see he adopts a really good position at the bottom of the corner, and he's just not spotted, so he couldn't be played in there on that occasion. But in fairness, they didn't at all take the foot off the gas going forward in the second half. That's a superb tackle there by Diviev. You can see what Pucky's trying to do. Almost perfectly times his run, but the outstretched left leg there just prevents him from getting a clean shot away. This is the last action he did before he was taken off with 15 minutes to go. It's a comfortable save by the goalkeeper. Again, you can see him constantly trying to probe away, find an opening, get the chance. He couldn't do it, but really, really gallant effort from the Finland team.
Yeah, considering the limited supply that Pukki and Poyampalo work off, I mean, they do extremely well, don't they?
They do, and I think it kind of sounds patronising, but not only the limited supply, but the relatively limited level of talent within the squad. You remember, this is their first tournament. The other day was their first game ever in the finals, in really unusual and trying circumstances. So they're 3 points going into the final game, so it's still there for them.
As far as Russia is concerned, people might think, oh, well, maybe we're emphasising the negative aspects of their play, but what is going to happen against the better teams, and we saw it against Belgium, they will be punished for being so wasteful, won't they, Didi?
Yeah, they played against one of the lowest ranked teams in the competition, and when you're 1-0 up, I expected them to be more dominant, to have more possession, and just be a bit more confident with the ball. And we see here, Malinchuk, who scored the goal, he tries to play it. You know, we said it at half-time, sometimes they try to walk the ball into the net. And you just have to keep concentration for 90 minutes in possession. It's so hard to get the ball back these days. You know, these are all avoidable mistakes. And then there's a couple, this is an offensive player here. Shovov, and he's got to do better here. This is towards the end. This is in injury time. Look at this. Gives the ball away. 6 players out of the game. And they were lucky not to get punished. This is a minute later, still injury time. He just had to play through, and no wonder the coach has got no hair, because he's probably pulled them all out. Because if you see that, with 2 minutes to go, 3 minutes of injury time gone, the guy plays a square ball, gets cut out. There's six men out of the game. You know, you get a counter attack in the 93rd minute. You know, this is international football. This happens in the lower leagues, and if it happens there, you say, hang on a minute, lads. You know, we've got to do the right things at the right time. But they do it time and time again. And this is where I was overall. It's a great result for them. But overall, I've got to say I was disappointed, because they keep making mistakes, and they don't seem to spot or be aware and spot danger. You know, that's what you got to do. They haven't done it today. They didn't get punished. It was a lack of finishing from the finish, or a lack of quality. But again, if you go into the second round, if there are 16 teams left, if they were to make it, you know, you can't afford to do this against any team. Any of the other 15 teams, I think they'll be up against it.
I think obviously the win is crucial. It's what they needed, but the missed opportunities, their wastefulness in front of goal, in the context of a 3-0 opening day defeat, I think that's going to potentially really cost them, because we are at a stage now where goal difference is going to matter. And if you've taken a hiding in your first game, you've got to be cutting in front of goal in your second one, and they weren't.
I suppose what we have to write into the context of this group is what happened to Christian Eriksen and Denmark, and how Denmark now are going to, first of all, react against Belgium, and then they'll finish out the group against Russia. So, I mean, we won't know how the players will be able to perform in the remaining 2 group matches, but that'll have an influence and a significant influence on how Russia progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Finns, I don't think you saw any impact. You know, they played a very good game. I've got to say, I was very impressed with them today. Again, the way they put Russia under pressure. You know, the most important thing, as we said it before, Christian Eriksen seems to be all right. He seems to be on the mend. And I think that'll be a big boost. And I think some of the players saw him. I think they promised him, we do it for you now. He wants them to carry on and obviously do well in the competition and the tournament. So, you know, I don't think you see too many after effects. I think they'll be all right. I think it'll be big relief, and if anything, it might be a big boost. You know, if he spoke to them, or if he gave them a message or two, that it may spur them on. And I can see, obviously they've got a tough game against Belgium tomorrow. But a win against Russia in the last game might be enough, and I can't see Russia beating Denmark. So, I think that Russian team is there for the taking. So I still expect Denmark to go through to the second round, and as we said before, we've got to find a way. I think the Finns all grew close to our hearts in the first 2 games. I think we've got a way to get them through. I think they've got a very good chance now.
There's no way of knowing really how those Danish players are going to react. Not at all. Like you're saying, there's a whole spectrum of possible responses. Like I've heard the phrase, football is relatively insignificant. I've heard that by so many players in the last few days. So if you start buying into that, that's not a great mindset to go into any football game thinking this is relatively unimportant.
Yeah.
But the flip side then is a lot of the players faced with like genuine life or death situations like that, you're reminded about, life can end at any moment, make the most of it, and what better way to make the most of life than representing your country on a stage like this. And then there's countless spots in the spectrum in between those 2 positions as well. So I don't know. I wouldn't be as flippant to say that simply a message from Eriksson or a thumbs up photo from Eriksson or the positive outcome, relatively positive so far, that we've heard from Eriksson's health updates is enough to just gloss over or erase the impact of what they've been through.
You could imagine, though, that they would be united by the experience. I mean, if there was a team bond there already, that will only be...
Yeah, you can imagine what it's like now to share that experience together. Not only share it together, but they would have shared in the supporting of one another through it. And they've had psychologists brought in, the coaching staff. Every public comment they've said has been like tone perfect about how they've responded to the needs of the players, and as well left it open to each player to respond in their own way. I don't think there'll be any pressure will be applied on them or criticism of them given how they've reacted.
No, and apparently a couple of the Belgian players or the Danish players who were in the press conference this afternoon confirmed that they did find a real unity amongst the group now.
Yeah, I think they had a good team spirit. I think when you saw the images, I think we were all touched by how they stood around the player who was in desperate trouble at the time. And, I think they had a very intact team spirit before. Obviously, I think something like this makes you grow even closer together. But as Richie rightly said, we won't find out until tomorrow because there'll be 11 players on the pitch. There might be 1, there might be none, there might be 6 or 7 who got this in the back of your mind. And the thing is, it's all about concentration. We just said about Russia what they didn't do well. France again, they didn't lose concentration for 1 second. This is setting the best teams from the average or the not so good teams apart. And if you haven't got that concentration 100%, and you've got other things on your mind, it will affect your performance, and you may make mistakes because you're not concentrated. So we'll find out tomorrow. I hope they are okay and everybody is really focused on the game and maybe wants to do it for the player who can't be with them. But we won't find out until tomorrow. But even if they get beat tomorrow, as I said, they still got a game against Russia, and what we've seen this afternoon, I'd give him a very good chance to beat them.
Yeah, certainly most neutrals will hope that Denmark can advance out of the group after what they went through.